This renovated 15K house sells for over 600% profit. HGTV, let's see what that means.
So I think this is it. She said it was a corner house. Doesn't look too terrible so far.
The siding looks great.
Yeah, needs a door.
Oh, and look, there's new windows.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Hey,
Hi,
Shay.
Shay.
So, what do you think so far?
I love the side. The front is a little more jarring.
Things you want to think about here is that asbestos siding. You know, that's like one of the first things I'm asking myself. And, you know, am I going to have to take any of it off? You see, asbestos is not a bad thing unless you disrupt it. And so a lot of times you'll see people put, you know, they put white vinyl siding on the sides and the back, maybe just right over the asbestos. And that way you don't disrupt it. You know, putting a nail through it is not necessarily disrupting it. It's got a new roof already. So it seems like somebody probably started a renovation here and then, you know, abandoned it for whatever reason. But I'm just looking on the outside to see if I see any structural damage. That's like always one of the first things I'm going to look at, is to see if there's any signs of bleeding. So that's like water hitting the property and damaging it in one way or the other. And, you know, I don't really see any major things so far. The house is on a flat lot, so there's probably not terrible issues here.
But yeah, it kind of looks like what we're used to a little bit.
So, it's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,200 square feet, and it's priced at $15,000.
Oh.
For $15,000, we'd usually expect the house to have a front door at the very least.
For $15,000, we'd expect the house to have a front door. I have no clue what market they're in. I mean, they're probably in a very run-down market, so like 15K might actually be a lot for a house. It depends on where they're at. You know, a 15K house where it's basically like this and maybe needs gutted or something might not be that great of a deal. I mean, there are houses that I've turned down buying at $0. It's that bad of a house and that bad of a neighborhood that you just can't make it make sense.
Let's take a look inside.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice,
this is,
right?
Oh yeah, I love this living room size. This is great.
I'm seeing new electrical.
New windows. That one, obviously, well,
So definitely this is something that catches people a lot, and I've been caught by this. Just because there's new electrical and maybe new plumbing, new HVAC behind those walls does not mean it's done right. And in fact, like when you see a house selling like this, they probably ran out of money and that's why they have to sell, or they hired contractors and the contractors didn't pull the proper permits and they got, you know, to the point where drywall's on when they finally found out that, hey, the city wants to come and inspect all that stuff. Now you're going to have to tear off all of the drywall. Definitely have been in that situation before, just to find out that all the electrical was done wrong, had to redo it all. Very costly error on our part. So I wouldn't just think just because the drywall's on, you're in good shape. It might be a mirage. I've also bought houses where new drywall was on, paint, everything looked great, just to find out that inspections hadn't been done and there was no insulation behind the walls.
This looks like that's at White Box.
yeah, this is way further along than we're used to.
So, someone started renovations and they ran out of money.
Gotcha.
So, it's back on the market.
The house actually looks really good, but just because it looks like some of the reno's been done, it doesn't mean that it was done right. So we still might need to redo everything.
It looks like there's new plumbing. Well, I like the space though. It's bright. It's relatively large for a kitchen. The layout's a little funky. Anyway, we'll figure that out.
Wow, they totally gutted this bathroom, it looks like.
Spacious.
Again, new plumbing.
And what do you think about this cute little arch here?
That's cute.
Nice, right?
Yeah, a little character. Obviously needs everything, but that's a really
That's
nice
easy.
little bathroom.
Another note is it looks like the plumbing, the supply lines, the water lines are coming in from the floor, and sometimes they are in crawl spaces in like really cold areas, and it seems like this is in a cold area where you can't just run them plainly like that in the crawl space. They'll freeze. I also see some that are like close to exterior walls. You don't want to run those water supply lines in an exterior wall because they'll also freeze.
Stairs look straight and sturdy.
Yeah, they feel
Great.
sturdy.
This is a huge bedroom.
It is.
Wow, that's a huge selling feature. I like it.
Great.
For 15 grand?
15,000.
So another thing that you have to think about is when people finish these upstairs rooms like this, you can see that the shaping of the ceiling means that the roof is just on the other side of that. And a lot of times people will hang the drywall right on the bottom of the actual roof joists, and they don't get proper insulation in there. And if they do get proper insulation, they might not get proper venting, and then air can't move. You know, like in your attic space, there will be both intake, usually in the soffits, air comes in, and then outtake, which is like the venting that you see on your roof or at the ridge of your roof. And if you can't let the attic space or that space up there breathe properly, you'll start to get mold and mildew and all kinds of issues. And so that's always a concern when I see attic spaces finished out like this. And once again, if they got the proper inspections done, then it's probably good to go. But when you get a house for, $15K that's almost done, well, you want to really be asking these questions, because usually if a deal is too good to be true, well, it's too good to be true.
It definitely is shocking to me how much work has actually been done for this price point. What do you think it would cost to finish it up?
Well, I mean, we'll have to check the plumbing and the electrical. Assuming those are fine, then that saves us a huge amount of money. The drywall is already done. That saves us a huge amount of money. I would say probably no more than 30,000.
Yeah, so, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, like in a house that size, you're probably going to pay like, I don't know, $7,500 for the plumbing, maybe $7,500 to $10,000 for the electrical. And then the drywall in a house like that with the upstairs is probably like an $8,000 or $9,000 thing, depending on the area that you're in and how much square feet there actually is. So they've saved a lot of money if they don't have to pay for it again.
Okay, so what do you think the house would sell for?
So based on you guys' comp, most recent sale at $75 per square foot, that would easily put us at $90,000.
That is...
Okay, so they're selling at $75 a square foot. That's like super cheap. They're in not a very good area. Yeah, $75 a foot is not good at all. My general rule of thumb is that if things aren't selling for close to like $200 a foot, I'm not really going to try to flip houses in there. Maybe $150 a foot. But flipping in the way that you renovate a house, do all the nice finishes. Now you might flip a house where, you get it for 15 and take some of the scary out of it and sell it to somebody else who does want to do all the nice things. But, really finishing out a house doesn't really make sense until you're getting, $150 to $200 a foot.
This place is a no-brainer. Like, we have to go submit an offer right now.
So the white box house is now ours. Shay put in the offer at $15,000 and they accepted the same day.
Because it was a quick sale, we bypassed an inspection. So we're hoping it's in not too bad a shape.
Oops.
Just gotta patch up the hole in the kitchen and we're ready to move on.
I've got big plans for the white box blank canvas. The theme of this house is gonna be timber, all of our accents, all of our furniture, and all around the house.
A mood board. This is like crazy, man, that it's a house that's going to sell for $90,000 and they have like the Pinterest mood board kind of thing. Like in a higher end house, you might do that. This is not the style of flipping that I do or suggest for anybody to do, because I think that you get really emotional. It becomes like more of a hobby thing than a business practice. And I just do not understand how they're going to do these high end finishes in a house that's going to sell for $90,000. I don't really know this show. And so maybe it is the thing where they do all the work themselves. And so, they don't have to really account for labor costs. But, I know a lot of people who they are investors who do the work themselves, but they never actually pay themselves as contractors to do the work. And so really all these deals that they think are deals are not at all. They're just doing free labor. So of course you'll make some money. They're making the money that they should have made as a contractor.
Kitchen.
The uppers up here, they are wood cabinets with the slats on the doors. And then it'll be butcher block countertops.
And behind it all, a really cool terracotta backsplash that will tie everything together.
Now, one thing here is they are using butcher block as opposed to granite or whatever, so they're going to save some money there. So maybe their thing is that they're using like really cheap materials, maybe repurposing things. That's possible.
Now we need to do some trim out. Most of the time we need to take...
Okay, so going back a little bit here, they used like the panel siding on the front, which is super cheap. It's just like throwing plywood up.
To give the kitchen a pop of color and avoid an all-brown room, I went with a rich, red-toned herringbone butcher block countertop.
Come on.
Not only does it create a great accent with the cabinets, the pattern on the block provides the kitchen with a designer look at an entry-level cost.
Hi.
Hello? Perfect timing to watch us struggle.
So what are your plans for the cabinet color?
We're not gonna paint it. We're
Okay.
actually gonna do a wood feature on it.
Nice.
Porcelain terracotta
Oh, nice.
will give us all of our nice pattern. It'll be kind of a textural thing.
That is gonna look like super high end.
Little detail item like this, it takes time and a lot of patience. You can take something that is pretty basic and really turn it into a very customized item.
Like whoever buys this house is gonna get like a custom art piece on every single cabinet door.
All right, obviously they're doing this work themselves, and I'm probably going to go through the math here in a little bit on how much they actually made and should have made if they paid themselves as contractors, and good ones at that. This is like really creative stuff, and maybe that's their whole thing, is they are definitely going to hit the top of the sale market by putting these little touches in there, because I'm sure nobody else is doing that in their area. And yeah, they're gonna end up making money on the flip because they're doing all the work themselves. But I don't think that's what most flippers are doing, and it's not really a sustainable business to do that. But it is fun, you know. And it's a great way to start out. If you're starting out as a flipper and you have some handyman skills, or you're a contractor and you can do this stuff yourself, it's a great way to put some money back, because like while you're flipping, it's also a forced savings account. You know, you're not getting paid, so you have to like be really tight with your money. And then at the end of the project, you get paid all of it for basically for being the contractor on it. And then you have a lump sum of cash that you can go start to do stuff with. See, most people get paid that money on a every other week basis, and just it's the law of money. It just vanishes. But when you get a lump sum at the end of a project, a lot of times you can use that to get a nice foothold in investing. I gotta say, even with the siding, these guys did a great job in using minimal costs of material to make nice things. Even on the front of that house, you know, they used the cheap siding and then put these wood strips to give it that nice modern look, and that didn't cost them a lot in material, cost them a lot in labor. So if you were hiring a contractor to do that, you would pay a lot for it, but they're not paying for their own labor. And once again, great way to get started. And not only that, you learn all these things if you start out that way.
So we'll be open houses tomorrow. I always get a tad nervous when we have an open house, because
We sell our houses fully furnished, so you're not just buying the house, you're buying the entire design and theme.
And we really try to push the design, especially for the neighborhood. It's not something that I think most people are used to seeing here, and some people might not like it.
But tomorrow, we'll find out if our vision for the home went too far, or if it'll bring back another family onto the block.
All right.
Welcome to the house.
Oh my goodness, this is so beautiful.
I mean, it's a great house. I mean, that's a great house, especially for $90,000. They did a fantastic job. I'm not dogging that at all, but, you know, it's the numbers that are throwing me off here.
Hi,
Hey,
how are you? Welcome to the open house. Dining space here. You have space for storage. You have space for a sideboard.
I love the art as well. It's great. Kind
Beautiful,
of livens up
right?
the space. Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? I don't know that I would have ever walked into a store and picked this out for a backsplash. But it's
Exactly.
beautiful.
I say
It
that
really
about
works.
everything.
This is amazing for the
great.
size of the kitchen.
I applaud y'all. This is beautiful.
I love that. It brings everything together, from the window treatments to the natural wood color.
living
Really
room.
like this right here.
Yeah, so we wanted to give like a bar area so that you can like serve people, talk to people as you're cooking.
Like, oh, you burning that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Bought at $15K, but there are also closing costs on the front end. So let's just say that the closing costs were maybe $1,000. And then we had $30,000 in renovation costs. Now, what they're not talking about is how they funded it. So did they use cash? Maybe they did. And this is another mistake that I think people make, that even if they use their own cash, you see that $46,000 that they had to have in it, they could have lent to somebody else. And people pay lenders. They're called hard money lenders or private money lenders. And they get paid usually 2, 3, 4 points on the front end, and then another 12% annually paid monthly. So they're missing out on big money, you know, maybe over I would say that project, since they did it all themselves, probably took them a couple months. Then it sat on the market and then had to go to sell, you know, maybe 6 months total. So they might have missed out on a 10% increase on that money, you know, 10% returns. Let's just say 8% returns on that money to be conservative about it. So this $46,000, they should have made their 8%. So really they have 49,680 in it. Okay. And now when they sold that for 90,900, okay, they had to pay the real estate agent on both sides. They had to pay some closing costs at the end. Maybe an inspection fee came up, or not an inspection fee, but an inspection resolution where they found this, that, or the other thing that they wanted fixed, or they had to discount the price for. So I usually figure all that stuff at about 8%. 90 times 0.08 equals 7272. Okay, so they clear 83,628, and then remember they had 49,628 in it. Now, other things that we didn't include there are insurance. They had utilities while they owned the property. They had taxes while they owned the property, maintenance while they owned the property. Of course, they probably did it themselves. So maybe that's another $1,000 for all that stuff. I imagine it's more than that, but we're being conservative. So they cleared $33,000. You know, this is probably in the span of 3 months, let's say, and there's 2 of them. So divided by, let's say it took them a total of 3 months, divided by 2 people. So they each made $5,500 a month to, you know, work on all that and risk their money as a real estate investor. No, thank you, you know, but it's cool. I mean, they did a great job. I just don't think that model really makes people a lot of money. But let's go to the comments here. Let's see what other folks have said about this. I know that's in Detroit. That's kind of what I was thinking. With their own ideas instead of some cool grayed out, horrible white gray flooring. It looks really nice. That is precisely what I'm recommending that you do, by the way, is to do the gray colored walls, horrible gray / white / gray flooring. You know, I know it's fun to make the Pinterest board and all that kind of stuff. And I used to make some really pretty properties. You know, I would do all the custom stuff, and the portfolio was something to be proud of. But then at some point I decided, gosh, this is really hard work, and I'd rather just get paid to do it. And that's when I switched to, you know, all the stuff that this person doesn't like. But having a systematic model that you know to do each time, and you know it works, and you know that the most people are going to want to buy it, I mean, that's the way that you really grow a business. Now, if you want to do this on the side and it's a hobby thing and it's a passion project, great. You know, that's great. That's just not what I do or teach people to do. Those cabinets are going to be a nightmare to clean. Nice. Yeah, they will, I guess. May we please have a full episode of each house they work on. They deserve more recognition than they are getting. We are missing out on their expertise. I agree that those guys did a really nice job, and they are very crafty craftsmen. one of the only flipper shows on HGTV that lists the houses at reasonable price. I mean, it's not reasonable. It's cheap as dirt. They do such great jobs. Almost all of their projects are affordable for buyers for what I can tell. Doesn't cause a massive gentrification spike to the area. Also, love they use color instead of white, gray, bleak, and boring. Well, you know, flippers don't do gentrification anyway. What a flipper does is they take what other things have sold for in that neighborhood that are, you know, the nicest, you know, the range of comps in the neighborhood, and then they remodel a house that's bombed out, like a $15,000 house that like nobody else is going to buy. Nobody else is going to have the money to put into this thing. You know, because these guys came up with cash. In fact, they did all the work themselves. So they bought the thing for $15,000 of their own cash and then risked their own $30,000 to get it to market. Nobody else is going to do that. And they didn't try to make a spike, and flippers don't make spikes. What they did instead was they sold it for what the other livable homes in the area did. That's not spiking the neighborhood. That's what happens when people come in and buy up big swaths of land and then build a bunch of like luxury homes. That's what like pushes things further. I don't think it's the flippers that are doing that. The flippers are actually a necessary part of the community, really. Otherwise, you just have all these houses that are going to be squatted in. Somebody's going to get injured. Maybe a kid would like be playing around and go in the house and they'd get injured. Like, you don't want that in your neighborhood. What you want are houses that do get brought up into the range of comps. That is not gentrification. And most of these guys, you know, this other guy that's like complaining about not the gray floors and the gray white walls. Well, that is how you make affordable housing, because these guys have systems and they are able to do things at scale. And just like at Costco, you buy volume and you get a discount for buying that volume. It's the same concept. So you actually want these gray floors and these basic looking things, not these nicer houses like this, because these nicer, like when they try to make things luxury, then they push it past the range of comps. They push it past what everything else is selling for, and that's how you push up the prices in a neighborhood. But most flippers take your crappy houses and they get them just nice enough using these gray and white features to just get them to sell for what everything else sells for. You like them, you don't dislike them. All right, well, I'm done with all that. I really do like what these guys did. They did great work, and like really getting started out in flipping houses, if you can learn to do the work yourself, you'll be so much better set up to flip houses in the future. But for those of you that are making it your business, this is not really the game that you're playing. And if you're making Pinterest boards and trying to figure out, you know, what styles you want and the design, I think that you're kind of off track. It is more of a hobby thing. Now, hobby and business can meet each other, but you just have to be mindful. You need to be aware about what's going on. The Pinterest part is not what's making the money. The Pinterest part is maybe something that fulfills you, you know, intrinsically, and that's great, just as long as you also have the foundation of the business part.